History is often taught as isolated stories: Egypt, the Exodus, Celtic Ireland, each a world apart. But what if these stories are actually threads in a single vast tapestry? Imagine Akhenaten, Moses, Princess Scotia, and the Tuatha Dé Danann, all connected by a hidden lineage. This journey challenges everything we think we know about the origins of peoples and legends. Prepare to see history not as separate chapters, but as one astonishing interconnected saga. In the 14th century BCE, Akhenaten upended Egypt with the world's first state monotheism. At the same time, Moses emerged, leading his people out of Egypt, forging a new faith. Legends say Princess Scotia, an Egyptian royal, fled turmoil and landed in Ireland, her name echoing in Scotland. Irish myth tells of the Tuatha Dé Danann, a mysterious advanced people arriving from afar. Are these stories fragments of a single hidden narrative? Let's follow the thread that might connect them all. Our story begins in Egypt's 18th dynasty with Amenhotep IV, soon to be Akhenaten. He challenged the powerful priesthood by elevating the Aten, the sun disk, above all other gods. Renaming himself Akhenaten, he declared the old gods false, dismantling their temples and erasing their names. This was a spiritual and political revolution shaking Egypt's foundations. The people, stripped of their familiar gods, faced confusion and upheaval. Akhenaten's radical vision set the stage for a dramatic backlash. Akhenaten needed a new capital for his new faith, far from Thebes and its old gods. He built Akhenaten, Amarna, in the desert, a city dedicated solely to the Aten. The city's open temples welcomed the sun's rays, and life revolved around the royal family as divine intermediaries. But the project drained Egypt's resources, and common workers suffered. Isolated in his new city, Akhenaten lost touch with the wider empire. His utopia became a symbol of both visionary ambition and costly disconnect. Akhenaten's revolution changed not just the god, but the very idea of divinity. The Aten was abstract, formless and universal, worshipped only through the pharaoh. Art transformed too. The royal family appeared with elongated features, breaking centuries of tradition. The great hymn to the Aten reveals a theology echoing later biblical psalms. Yet for ordinary Egyptians, Atenism was cold and exclusive, stripping away comforting rituals and gods. Discontent grew as people longed for the return of their old beliefs. A revolution as radical and disruptive as Akhenaten's could not last. It was just too dependent on the singular, obsessive vision of one man. Throughout his 17-year reign, discontent simmered beneath the surface. The military establishment grew frustrated as the pharaoh neglected Egypt's foreign policy, allowing its empire in the Near East to, basically crumble. The dispossessed priesthood of Amun waited patiently in the shadows, their immense wealth confiscated, but their influence far from extinguished. The general populace, stripped of their ancestral beliefs, longed for the return of the familiar gods who had protected Egypt since the dawn of its history. The entire edifice of Atenism rested on the shoulders of the pharaoh, and when he died, it was destined to fall. The death of Akhenaten, around 1336 BCE, plunged the royal court into a period of chaos and uncertainty. He was succeeded by a series of short-lived and poorly understood rulers, including a figure named Smenkhkare, and eventually the young boy king, Tutankhaten. The pressure to abandon the Atenist heresy and restore the old ways must have been immense, coming from every corner of the Egyptian elite. Within just a few years of Akhenaten's death, the court abandoned the city of Akhetaten, leaving it to crumble back into the desert sands from which it came. The young pharaoh changed his name from Tutankhaten, meaning living image of Aten, to Tutankhamun, or living image of Amun. signaling a complete and total restoration of the old order. What followed was a swift and brutal reaction. The new regime, guided by powerful figures from the old guard like the General Horemheb, initiated a systematic campaign to erase Akhenaten and his revolution from memory. His name was hacked from monuments, his statues were smashed and his temples were torn down, their blocks reused as filling for new constructions. Akhenaten was dismantled and abandoned, becoming a ghost city. In official king lists compiled by later pharaohs, Akhenaten's name was omitted, as if he had never existed. For over 3,000 years, he was lost to history, a forgotten heretic, until the rediscovery of his city, Amarna, in the 19th century brought his incredible story back to light. This leaves us with a crucial and honestly pretty tantalizing question. The Atenist revolution, though short-lived, had captivated thousands of followers. A whole generation had been raised in the city of Akhenaten, knowing only the worship of the one sun god. What happened to these people, the most devout followers of the heretic king, after their world was violently turned upside down? When the priests of Amun returned to power seeking vengeance, these Atenists would have been marked as dangerous heretics. Did they all simply renounce their faith and reintegrate into traditional society? Or did some of them, a core group of true believers, choose exile over conversion, fleeing Egypt to find a new home where they could worship their one true God in peace? This possibility is the first critical link in our hidden lineage. Moses, raised in Pharaoh's court, yet born an Israelite slave, stands at the crossroads of two worlds. His story, rooted in Egypt's grandeur and Israel's suffering, is iconic in Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Some suggest his unique upbringing exposed him to revolutionary ideas, perhaps even the radical monotheism of Akhenaten. Regardless, Moses' legacy as a prophet and liberator shaped the spiritual consciousness of half the world. The Exodus marks the Israelites' dramatic escape from Egypt, led by Moses through the parted Red Sea, a defining moment of liberation. But what if this Exodus included not just Israelites, but also persecuted Atenists fleeing after Akhenaten's fall? Their shared journey could explain the sudden rise of monotheism, a new identity forged from oppression and hope. The Exodus then becomes the birth of a people united by faith and freedom. The Exodus leads the Israelites into the Sinai desert, to a sacred mountain where their God is revealed. Unlike any in Egypt with no image or idol, this aniconic God echoes Akhenaten's Atenism, which also rejected idols. Freud controversially argued Moses was an Egyptian, bringing Atenist ideas to the Israelites. The Ten Commandments establish a new moral code, binding a people to one God. To truly appreciate the potential connection, we must look at the Exodus as more than just the story as it is written. Oral traditions evolve, merge with other stories, and adapt to serve the changing needs of the people who tell them. The historical event of a migration from Egypt in the late Bronze Age could have been more complex than the streamlined epic we read today. This perspective allows us to see the Exodus not as a singular event, but as a period of diaspora. The collapse of Akhenaten's regime created a perfect storm of chaos and displacement. Multiple groups of people would have been on the move, fleeing collapsing systems and searching for new opportunities. The Israelites' departure could have been one stream in a much larger river of migration flowing out of a weakened and fractured Egypt. This reframing helps explain the lack of direct evidence for a massive, single-file migration of hundreds of thousands of people across the Sinai Peninsula. If the Exodus represents a more gradual process of smaller groups leaving Egypt over several decades, their archaeological footprint would be much fainter and harder to identify. It suggests the story is a theological truth built around a historical core of migration and cultural fusion. The critical question is not whether Moses was an Atenist, but whether the religious and political fallout from the Amarna period created the very conditions that made the Exodus possible. Did the suppression of Atenism provide the catalyst, the ideology, and perhaps even a portion of the people for the migration that would eventually give rise to Israel? This theory suggests that the monotheistic revolution did not die with Akhenaten. Instead, it was carried out of Egypt by a determined group who, through syncretism and revelation, transformed it into a new, enduring faith. This exiled idea, this seed of monotheism, would now begin its long journey, not only into the Promised Land, but, as we shall see, potentially far beyond. Now, for an astonishing leap in history. We leave Egypt's deserts, cross the Mediterranean, and arrive at the misty shores of Ireland and Scotland. Here, legend tells of Princess Scotia, a pharaoh's daughter who fled Egypt and became part of Ireland's oldest chronicles. Her story, found in the Book of Invasions, hints at a real ancient migration, an enduring mystery linking Egypt and the Celtic world. The Book of Invasions is a remarkable Irish manuscript blending myth and history. It tells of 6 waves of settlers, culminating with the Milesians, descendants of Milispen and Princess Scotia, daughter of an Egyptian pharaoh. Their journey from Egypt, through chaos and exile, to Ireland weaves together biblical, Egyptian and Irish legends, suggesting a shared origin for the Irish people. The legend of Scotia and the Milesians tells of a multi-generational odyssey, fleeing Egypt, wandering the Mediterranean, settling in Spain, and finally reaching Ireland. Their journey mirrors the biblical Exodus, forging a new nation through trials at sea before a final conquest in Ireland. This epic migration, echoing real maritime roots, may preserve the memory of a true voyage from east to west. The legend of Scotia tells of Egyptian migrants bringing a sacred stone to Ireland, the Leafale, or Stone of Destiny. This stone crowned Irish and Scottish kings, journeying from Tara to Scone Abbey and even Westminster Abbey. Its legacy links the British monarchy to ancient myths and migrations, a symbol of kingship and divine promise that endures to this day. But who were the people they met when they arrived? The Tuatha Dé Danann, people of the goddess Danu, are Ireland's most mysterious figures. Legends say they arrived on dark clouds bringing magic, wisdom and unmatched skill. Were they gods or a highly advanced tribe whose knowledge seemed supernatural? Their story blurs the line between myth and history, leaving us to wonder, were they divine beings or extraordinary humans from a distant, forgotten world? The Tuatha Dé Danann arrived in Ireland bearing 4 legendary treasures, each from a northern city. The Stone of Destiny, Sword of Light, Cauldron of the Dagda, and Spear of Lugh symbolized rule, justice, abundance, and skill. These treasures embodied the Tuatha Dé Danann's knowledge and power, their mythic legacy shaping Ireland's ancient past. When the Tuatha Dé Danann arrived in Ireland, they found it already inhabited by the Firbolg. Through epic battles, including the legendary Mag Tuired, they overcame their rivals and established themselves as masters of the land. Their reign brought order, culture and law to Ireland, remembered as a golden age before the next wave of invaders arrived. The golden age of the Tuatha Dé Danann ended with the arrival of the Milesians, fulfilling ancient prophecy. Legends say the Milesians descended from Princess Scotia of Egypt. Defeated, the Tuatha Dé Danann retreated into the Seed, ancient mounds hidden in the Irish landscape. There they became the Iosai, the fairy folk, an eternal hidden presence shaping Irish myth and memory. Let us step back and see the tapestry we've traced. From the Nile's banks through Sinai across the Mediterranean to Ireland's misty shores. These aren't separate tales, but chapters of a grand migration, one east to Canaan, one west to Ireland. The chaos of ancient Egypt sparked a diaspora, shaping legends and peoples far beyond its borders. What if the legendary Tuatha Dé Danann were actually Egyptian or Near Eastern migrants, bringing advanced knowledge to ancient Ireland? Their so-called magic, metalworking, medicine, astronomy, was the technology of a Bronze Age superpower. The treasures and myths echo Egyptian skills and beliefs transformed by centuries of storytelling. The Tuatha Dé Danann weren't gods, but master mariners and thinkers from the Nile, remembered as legends. This brings us to the final climactic scene in the Irish mythological drama, the arrival of the Milesians and their conflict with the established Tuatha Dé Danann. If the Tuatha Dé Danann were the first wave of Egyptian migrants, who then were the Milesians, who also claimed Egyptian heritage through Princess Scotia? The theory offers a, breathtakingly symmetrical conclusion. The Milesians represent a second later wave of the same diaspora. Perhaps they were a group that had settled for generations in the Mediterranean, as the legend's mention of a long sojourn in Spain suggests, before making the final journey to Ireland, only to find their distant kin already established there as a godlike ruling class. The encounter between the Milesians and the Tuatha Dé Danann can thus be reread not as a battle between men and gods, but as a conflict or negotiation between two related branches of the same displaced people. A kind of great family reunion that honestly turned into a struggle for control. This explains the strange and unique outcome of their conflict. The Tuatha Dé Danann are not annihilated or driven out. Instead, a pact is made. They cede the surface world to the Milesians, but retreat into the Sidi, the other world, becoming a hidden, influential presence. This could be a metaphor for the integration of two related cultures, where the older, more established group becomes the priestly or aristocratic caste, preserving the deepest wisdom and secrets of their shared origin. This weaving of threads proposes a single, coherent, albeit speculative, historical lineage. It begins with Akhenaten's revolution, which unleashes the powerful idea of monotheism and creates a diaspora upon its collapse. One branch, led by Moses, carries this idea eastward, where it evolves into the foundations of Judaism. Another, larger branch of skilled elites sails west, becoming the magical Tuatha Dé Danann of Irish myth. Generations later, a second Western group, the Milesians, follows them, and their eventual merging creates the foundational culture of the Irish people, with the memory of their Egyptian origin preserved in the legend of Princess Scotia and the shared motif of the Stone of Destiny. This grand narrative connects the dots between some of the most enduring mysteries of the ancient world. It explains the profound parallels between Atonism and the Mosaic revelation. It provides a historical basis for the legend of Scotia and the seemingly out-of-place Egyptian origin myths of Ireland. And it offers a rational, demystified identity for the Tuatha Dé Danann and their incredible knowledge. The hidden lineage is revealed not as a straight line, but as a branching river of people and ideas, flowing from a single turbulent source in the Egyptian desert and nourishing the cultural soil of lands thousands of miles apart. Now, having woven this grand and intricate tapestry, it is vital that we step back and view it with a critical eye. This theory, while compelling, is highly speculative and exists on the fringes of accepted academic thought. Mainstream archaeology views the proposed connections as fascinating coincidences or literary inventions. The most significant counter-argument is the lack of direct archaeological proof. The absence of such evidence keeps the theory in the realm of speculation. Myth is often the last refuge of forgotten history, a distorted echo of real events lost to time. Could ancient migrations and hidden lineages be veiled within these stories? Our past may be far more interconnected and mysterious than we imagine, with secrets still hidden in plain sight, waiting to be uncovered in the enigmatic language of our oldest myths. Our journey has taken us across the vast expanse of time and geography. From the revolutionary court of a heretic Egyptian pharaoh to the misty, myth-shrouded hills of ancient Ireland, we have explored a daring and provocative theory, one that challenges the very foundations of how we view the past. It suggests that the neat, separate chapters of our history books, ancient Egypt, the biblical Exodus and Celtic mythology, are not isolated narratives at all. Instead, it proposes that they are deeply interwoven threads in a single colossal tapestry, a hidden lineage of migration, ideas, and cultural transformation. The theory posits that the ripples from a single tumultuous period in the Near East travelled much farther than we ever imagined. We began with Akhenaten, whose radical attempt to impose monotheism on Egypt shattered his kingdom's traditions and upon his death created a dangerous backlash. This chaos, we have suggested, may have been the engine for a great diaspora. One branch of these displaced peoples, led by the prophet Moses, carried a refined version of this monotheistic idea eastward, an event immortalized as the Exodus, which would lay the foundations for 3 world religions. Simultaneously, another branch, a sophisticated group of Egyptian seafarers, fled westward across the sea. This group, remembered in legend as the followers of Princess Scotia, would eventually reach the shores of Ireland, their advanced knowledge causing them to be remembered as the godlike Tuatha Dé Danann. This grand synthesis weaves together the most perplexing elements of each story. It provides a historical context for the sudden emergence of Israelite monotheism. It offers a rational explanation for the Irish legends of an Egyptian origin and the seemingly supernatural abilities of the Tuatha Dé Danann, reframing their magic as the advanced technology and knowledge of a Bronze Age superpower. The arrival of the Milesians, themselves claiming Egyptian heritage, becomes not a random invasion but a final, unifying chapter. A reunion of long-lost kin on the western edge of the world. It is a narrative that finds harmony in coincidence and purpose in myth. Whether you view this as a plausible reconstruction of lost history or simply as a captivating flight of fancy, the exercise itself holds profound value. It reminds us that our ancient past is not a settled and finished story, but a dynamic puzzle with many missing pieces. The connections between Akhenaten, Moses, Scotia, and the Tuatha Dé Danann challenge us to look beyond the established narratives, to listen for the faint echoes that reverberate between cultures, and to consider the deeper, hidden currents that might have shaped the world we inherited. A secret lineage, perhaps hidden in plain sight, waiting for those with the curiosity to connect the dots across the ages. Ultimately, the theory of this hidden lineage serves as a powerful testament to the interconnectedness of human history and the enduring power of myth. It suggests that the great migrations and revolutionary ideas of one era do not simply vanish. They echo through the centuries, their reverberations shaping the foundational stories of cultures thousands of miles away. The turmoil that followed a pharaoh's death in the Egyptian desert might, through a long and winding chain of events, have genuinely inspired the epic tales of heroes and gods that were told around firesides in ancient Ireland. The world is smaller and more intricately linked than our conventional maps of history often lead us to believe. This exploration is an invitation to embrace curiosity and to cultivate the courage to question. History is not a static collection of facts to be memorized, but an ongoing investigation, a dialogue between the present and the past. Theories like this, even if they lie outside the academic mainstream, are essential for keeping that dialogue alive. They push the boundaries of our thinking, force us to re-examine our assumptions, and encourage us to look at familiar stories from new and unexpected angles. They remind us that the line between history and myth is often blurry, and that great truths can often be found veiled in our most ancient and fantastical legends. We encourage you to continue this journey of discovery on your own. What are your thoughts on this hidden lineage? Do you find the connections between the Atenists and the Israelites compelling? Do you believe the legend of Scotia and the mystery of the Tuatha Dé Danann could be rooted in a real migration from the Near East? The beauty of these questions is that they do not have easy answers. They invite speculation, debate, and further research. Share your own insights and theories in the comments below. The quest for understanding our shared past is a conversation that belongs to all of us. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the forgotten pathways of ancient history. If this exploration into the untold stories of our past has sparked your curiosity and challenged your perceptions, then our purpose has been achieved. The past is a vast and mysterious ocean, and we have explored but one of its hidden currents. There are countless other secrets waiting to be uncovered, other threads waiting to be woven together. We hope you will continue to question, to explore, and to wonder. Always stay curious.